Starting off, B2B marketing. This has been a challenge for many startups, and fortunately, I have spent a lot of my time in B2B. But let me also state here that B2B marketing is not just sales. So it helps if you have a thorough understanding of the product, about your organization's processes on delivering that product, a lot about finances, many things, because B2B is not just selling, it is providing an entire gamut of services. So please look at it from that perspective. It is not, a front end activity. Okay, so having said that, there were some queries which I got this morning from Ramya. So I've highlighted those in red, which I thought my session does not address. Okay, but I will park it here. We'll come back to the slide at the end of the session, and let's see if my prediction was right, that others in black have been answered. If they are not, certainly we'll spend some time and clarify any doubts on those. Okay. So many points are similar, so I'm not segregating them or grouping them together, but this is the kind of queries that some of you have raised before the session. So what are the key takeaways? This was shared in the flyer also. How is B2B different from B2C? Managing the buying center. So this may be a term new to you. Some of you will be familiar, customer archetype. So there is some nuances to be learned about managing what we call a buying center, because I'll explain to you a little as we go along. How segmentation can help you to scale up and grow. What is segmentation of market and how will it help you? How do you leverage segmentation? Customer acquisition costs, customer lifetime value. I'm sure you would have heard of these terms. Getting new customers is very hard, and it costs a lot of time and money. So before we acquire customers, can we also gauge what is their lifetime value? If you're going to put in money to get a customer, is there going to be return? And how do we maximize the return on investment in customer acquisition? Having done all this, a large part of it is marketing and assessment and understanding of the market. How do you sell? Now we really come to selling. This is the front end activity, and how selling to an institutional market or organization, B2B, is different. What are the subtle things that you have to bear in mind? And how do you close a deal? Deal closure is very important, and it requires nerves, requires courage. It's not because you all are startups, you may think you're a small organization, and the customer will see that. And if he's a nice customer, he'll help you. But if he's a tough customer, he will take advantage, right? So walking away from a deal is not a bad thing. Sometimes they will call you and give it to you, because they also need to know what is the rock bottom you can go to. And your body language will speak much louder than any words that you use. So these are small things to keep in mind. We'll touch upon that. Then I have two other things which I thought were like icing on the cake, if you can put it, because these are something that you may want to use, you may not want to use, depending on your business. Customer intimacy. What is that? What do we mean by that, and why is it important? Is it important at all? If it is, do we need to practice it, and how? And what is meant by a supplier? What's the difference between supplying a service or a product to being a marketing partner? Every customer is part of a supply chain or a value chain. Your customer may not be a consumer, B2B, right? He is also doing a business to satisfy somebody else down the line, who's doing a business to somebody else down the line, and so on. So end consumer may be far away. So each of them has a certain marketing aspiration. Can you in some way partner that? So can you make the marketing department or a marketing head or a marketing function in a customer organization, want to know more about you? Normally, you would be talking to the purchase department, I suppose, or some production or user department, somebody who uses your services. Marketing department must be far away from you. But if the marketing department wants to talk to you, that means you're making a difference there in their business. Okay, so that's something which is you can aspire for. Okay, so let's start with the first one. Most of you are familiar, because this is the third time I'm taking this session. Some of you may remember, but doesn't matter. I will run through these differences. It is important to know. You can ask me any doubts. Okay, if something is not clear, you should pause here. So what are the key aspects? let's look at the buyer behavior. Okay. We should always put ourselves in the shoes of the buyer. You yourself are an organization. You may be a startup, but you are an organization, right? So what is your behavior when you buy something for your organization? That's different from when you buy something for your home. Let's say you're buying a laptop or you're buying some chair or something for your startup company, and you're buying something for your home. Your behavior is going to be different. It may be an AC, it may be a television, it may be a laptop. Okay. The person who's buying the AC, if he's buying for his company, he may probably buy the best. Let's say he's working for Citibank or he's working for McKinsey or some big organization. He will buy the best money can buy because that's their status. The 5-star hotel, he wants to buy an AC. If he's buying for his home, you don't know what kind of home he's coming from. It may be the other way around. He may be a very well-off person. He may want to drive a BMW or something. But if you want to buy a car for the office, he may say, why should I spend on a big car? I'm not going to drive in it. Some junior manager is going to travel, buy some small car. So the buying behavior is, that is why I'm saying it's on behalf. It is not for self-consumption. When it's for self, your decision is different. Even if you're buying atta, if you're buying rice from the canteen, that's a B2B. Because I'm buying to serve somebody else. What is my interest in serving somebody else? What kind of rice I'll buy? I look at cost. I will say, okay, if there is a little bit of thing trade-off, don't worry. Because I will save money for my company. I may get a promotion. We'll come to that, okay? Because his motives are different. He's not a consumer of that product. Even if a purchase manager buys an AC, he may buy it for somebody else. Why will he care what the AC is? These are decisions which we will discuss. It's a good question. So similarly, the process of buying is very long. Typically, if you want to buy an AC for your home use, you'll just walk into a dealer or you go online and buy it. But if you want to buy it for an organization, you need to get 3 quotations. You may need to negotiate. You may have to show that you've done some negotiation and comparison, and you have a boss to report to who will ask you. Tomorrow, auditors will come and ask you, how did you buy this? So there is a process. It will be long. Okay. Pricing is always negotiated in institutional buying. It sometimes is in home buying or consumer buying. So many times consumers also bargain. I see many ladies sitting here. I'm sure all of you bargain. You won't buy. Many men also do this nowadays. But there's a limit. If you go to a fixed price shop, you just buy it. You're not going to buy. So that's not. It's not 100%, but it is more often than not fixed, and more often than not, it is negotiated in a institutional buy or B2B. Driver of choice here. The brand plays a big role in when you buy a brand for your personal use. I mean, for a product for your personal use, where branding is important. But branding may not be important for a B2B. There, the relationship matters. Brand also matters. It's not that it doesn't matter. But if I have a good brand, but the salesman is lousy in my district, in my city, I don't have a good service network of that brand, I will not buy that. Okay. I don't like somebody, he created a nuisance in my office. I will see he doesn't enter my office tomorrow. This can happen. On the other hand, if there is a very nice salesperson who comes very pleasantly across and he starts, talking my terms, what is of interest to me, not what is of interest to him, I will still buy. He may not be a good brand, but I'll say I'll stick my neck out for him because there is a relationship. Okay, so relationship is very important in B2B buying. Today, salesmen and servicemen may be 2 different people. That can happen. Somebody comes and sells a system and goes. After that, you can't see his face. He'll be selling somewhere else, especially if you buy a house. The person who sells the house to you, or if it's a personal product, servicing is also matter. Servicing, that's a B2B relationship between, but servicing comes only after the sale. So first you have to get the sale going. To get the sale going, you need to have a relationship with the seller, salesman. So if he is not pleasant, if he is not capable of building relationship, there is no sale. Then there is the question of service. But if he does a good job of selling, but the service is poor, what you're saying will happen. Relationship is spoiled. This happens very often. Let me tell you. I've been in sales. You promise, you make a lot of promises on behalf of whoever is supposed to. Service doesn't mean even after sales, delivery of the product. Okay, because many times you're saying I will supply an AC, that's it. You're not offer it, right? Have to be delivered subsequently. There may be a delay, it may come damaged. Somebody may not respond on a phone call. You'll go to the wrong destination. I've seen this. So that's also a service. Or they will say, I'll sell it in 2 days. It'll come take 5 days to come. So that is from the service starts after the sale is made. But I'm talking about before, And the size of the order, typically, if you're going to spend a lot of time with an institution, the size of the order has to be big. Otherwise, not worth your time. Even if you're selling an AC, if it is 5 ACs, 10 ACs, you would spend time with the customer. If it's 1 AC, you won't spend time. Then it's a different ball game, right? Today, even an institutional buyer goes online and buys. Okay, so that's a change that has come. Salesperson, as I said before, is very, very important here, which is not the case, not so much the case with the B2C. You go to a shop, you buy something, you may not even remember the face of the salesperson or the name or nothing. You don't even ask anything about them. You just pick up the product, they offer you, and they come back, right? Customization also is very high in industrial B2B selling because all industries are different. And that is the nature of the requirement also. And the more you customize, the better you will differentiate your product from the competition. Everybody tries to customize. When I'm saying customizing, it's not just the product. It is the entire augmented product. The service, as you said, okay, the payment terms, the freebies that you will give with it, the training you may give with it, online support you may give. Many, many things are packaged, and the whole thing is becoming a customized version. And you may de-customize it and say, if you're not willing to pay, I'll remove all this and give you. So these are possible in an industrial sale. Customers, you don't want to waste your time doing all this. Okay. But yes. So I'm not differentiating between product and service, and the whole thing is one bundle package. That is what, see, end of the day, you must understand whether it's a consumer or an industrial B2B, they're not buying your product. They are buying what the product can deliver. Okay. If they want food, they want to satisfy hunger. It's not that. So anything that they buy, so without the service part of it, the product by itself means nothing. So somebody sells a water cooler, So he says they want water, they don't want water cooler, they want chill water. You put all fancy things on a water cooler and say this is the latest IoT, this. If it doesn't give water, it means nothing. So that's where the the service and the customization comes across. And many times the convenience is very important. If you are making it effortless for them to experience your product, then the chances of you getting a higher rating is much more than the product is hard. Suppose you send something which is hard to open, hard to use, a lot of complexity in it. It may be a great product, but look at the iPhone. It's so easy. Nobody needs to read even the user's manual. The more convenient you make it, I'm saying this is common to any product, B2B or B2C, but B2B more because somebody is buying, somebody else will be using it. Okay, there are multiple people involved, so all of them need to find some value. Otherwise, they are not going to buy a second time. First time you may sell. Okay, let me move on. This is a screen. Part of it is hidden. I'm sorry. The most important thing seems to be hidden there. I don't know how to remove this, but let me escape and show you. I hope you can see that. Why startups fail? This is not my slide. It is taken from the Lean Startup. Some of you might have attended this. Among the various reasons, 90% of startups anyway fail. Okay, this is not a curse. This is something that is reality. So therefore, we must all be conscious. We want to change this number from 90 to 80 to 70 to 60. That's a different history. Okay, we're not talking future here. It's history. But why do they fail? 42% because there is no market need for the product. So they are very enamored by the technology. They come from certain institutions. They work in a in a lab or in a closed environment. Very happy with something. They have they have some kind of a hypothesis or an assumption about the need. They've seen something in the product. They think this is a great product. I'm sure a lot of people will they dream, right? But it may so happen that the product is something which nobody needs. So how do we prevent ourselves from getting caught in such a situation is, so again, I'm just repeating this from lack of, it's not technology, it is not product that leads to failures of 90%. Mostly it is lack of customers. So we need to therefore focus on the customer. That's what we'll do in the next 45 minutes or so. So who's your customer? Customers are people. Okay, it may seem obvious, but when I ask somebody who's your customer, they'll say L&T is my customer. They may say, Bharat BHEL is my customer, or HUL or Amazon. They are not people. Okay, so customers are people. Unless you can understand your customer by his persona, who he is, what he is, they are not. This is just a building. If you say, IIT Madras Research Park, my customer, who's that, right? So people, even in B2B, people are important. Don't think it is some amorphous structure. There are archetypes. What are archetypes? When you say archetype, we are really talking about extreme versions of something. Okay, black and white are two archetypes of color. But in reality, everything is gray. Okay, but to understand gray, we need to know how much of black, how much of white is there, so that we know what is gray. Similarly, any color. So there are archetypes. Okay, so customer archetypes, meaning customers come in different shades of white and black. Okay, and we need to understand them, because they can make or break a deal if you don't understand them. Okay, when I'm saying archetypes, it is within an organization. Okay, it is not. When I say people, they are plural. It's not singular. It's not a person. So people are different. Okay. Third is they have to be impacted by a product. When I say impacted, I'm not saying using the word benefited. It could be negatively impacted also. Why are they your customers if they are negatively impacted? Because they may sabotage. If you ignore them, if you say, because why? You are a startup, you are in the business of disrupting something. What does disruption mean? Changing status quo. Okay, there are people who want the status quo. For them, status quo is comfort. You are coming to disrupt it. Okay, so they will try very hard to sabotage your business interest, and they are real. These are people. So if you don't deal with them, you will struggle and suffer. Okay, so that's why I'm saying. So therefore, objective is net impact. So there is a negative impact, positive impact of the customer. Net impact, you need to gauge it, value it, measure it, and say, on the whole, is this customer, there are some gains, there are some offsets of those gains. Does it make sense for them to buy my product and service? Because they're going to spend something. So change is not something simple. Okay. If you hold your hand, like put your fingers like this, okay, or you put your fingers like this, you change it. One way is comfortable, one way it is not. Most of you, right? Even when you sit and stand, you do it a particular way, because slight change is difficult. So you're telling somebody to change something they have been doing for several years. So imagine the change is not, and to induce them to change is going to require a lot more momentum. Newton's first law will play. Inertia will play a very high role. So keep in mind that these are the important things, and that's how a customer is going to behave with you. So let's look at how do you manage this. Yeah, who's they? Who's that? One person, five. When you say they, plural. So all five, I'm asking you, are all five identical? That's a question. You pause that, just pause that. And there are many assumptions in what you said. They need the product, assumption. Okay. There is no, and they are willing to change. Is an assumption. Maybe that is true. They may be willing to change if they have a need. They are willing to change the way you want them to change is a big assumption. Many options of change are available for them. You're probably telling them one of those options. They may be considering other options. So how do you know yours is the best? You don't know. So these are important, and that is the purpose of this discussion. I hope your question will get answered towards during the thing, but it's a good question. But again, I'm highlighting that there are hidden assumptions in that, and we should not just go by those assumptions. We should get evidence. Okay, if the customer complained, that means he cares and he knows that you will take the complaint and do something, and you will come back to him with a solution. If the customers don't complain, they say, I will not talk to this supplier anymore. I have other options. So we say complaint is customer complaint is a gift. Receive it as a gift, because this is a fantastic opportunity for you to understand the customer very well. Because he'll talk to you maximum about his needs and how his needs were not met when he complains. Till then, you might have misunderstood his needs because you're asking him, he's distracted, he said something. Now you are having an undivided attention of the customer because he's firing you. He has to say all the problems. you understand his needs so well that next time you will delight him. And that is what you want. And that's how the relationship works. If he complains, he already knows that you are a person who can rectify the complaint. Otherwise, we won't even call you and complain to you. Many times we don't complain. Especially if the government something, we say, who is going to complain about some telephone line, not earlier days, I'm saying. Okay. Today also, many times we don't complain because we know the company will not even take it seriously. But a complaint is good. See, if you didn't make a relationship, you can't say, I had a good relationship, but the customer, is not satisfied. It can never work like that. Relationship is not just having a cup of tea or taking them for lunch. I'm not talking about that relationship. That will work only if the foundation is there. If you don't, you need to build a foundation. You need to build the relationship on a foundation. Foundation is good product, good service. If that is not there, you are standing on air. You will fall. Foundation is removed. You will fall. So please ensure that before you build the relationship, you are on solid ground. And make promises only where you're sure. If you're not sure, please do not commit. Customers will be very happy if you say, look, I need to check and come back several times. You may think that he may think I'm ignorant, that I don't even know this, but he will respect you because you are honest, straightforward, integral person who's not going to bullshit. Okay. And it's always better to take time off, check. Today with connectivity is very easy. Earlier days it was not possible. You have to come back after 2 days. Today, you can just say, I'll just step out, check and come back. Get commitment from your people because there is an internal customer concept, which means as a salesperson or whoever you are in the field, your backend has to treat you like a customer. If they don't respect you, company will definitely fall flat as the way you said. These are failures and we have to learn from these failures. It's not the end of the road. Okay, it's like a speed bump on the road. Treat it as a speed bump. It'll slow you down, but doesn't mean you can't pick up and walk again. Okay, this is what I'm saying. Startup, you will find several. Going back, what do we mean by archetype? I mentioned to you. Now, we also mentioned something called a buying center. So if you go to the customer's organization, typically behind the scenes, everybody would be wearing suited, booted, whatever it is. But behind the scenes, you don't know what kind of people they are. Okay, somebody is a buyer. He's not interested in the product. He's interested in purchasing the cheapest product in the market because that's how he gets his increment, promotion, and everything in the organization. He's a champion. He believes in you said robot and all that. He believes that it's going to save him time. It's going to save him so much of benefit. He is championing. Okay. Influencer. There are people who know more about the company and how your product will influence the working of the company. There's change. You talked about change. The influencers will say, if you put this product, the ERP systems were there some 20 years ago. Everybody thought SAP, that is a great thing. But it's huge amount of change management, right? So that change management, many people couldn't handle, many customers could not handle. So you may find the influencer will moderate and say yes or no. If you ignore the influencer, he will, after the meeting is over, he will say, no, I don't think it's something. You're finished now, right? Veto power is the guy who obviously has vested interest in status quo. How do you identify? How do you deal with him? Many times you can make him your partner. Find a way to include him. If you include him, he's losing something. How do you compensate for what he's losing? Influencer, end user is the person who actually uses the product, who may not really be having any decision-making powers. If you buy a car and give somebody who drives the car as a user, something like that, okay? Compliance officers are these people sometimes are outside the organization, especially in medical and other. There are people who will say, they can say no go and no go. That is clear. It's not an influence. They are recommenders. They will say, if they recommend, the company will go ahead. Otherwise, they will not. Okay, so this is not an exhaustive list. Just to give you an idea, there are different players we need to identify. And what is important is all of them are human beings. So I've just put H to H as human to human. Okay, and emotions play a very, very big role in B2B. I don't think emotions don't play a role. You may, this is from my personal experience, and that's why the relationship is important. Big companies buy because why? Some other division of their organization has bought it, so they will buy. Okay, I cover my backside. I don't want to take any risk. Okay, so this is an emotional game, and so this is a small thing to say. How do you now understand the buying sector? Where do you go? I mean, I've just showed you something and said, okay, now this is what you do. I don't want you to get, a little bit intimidated by this. when I talk about buying centers and customer archetypes, these are all the different archetypes. People who are buyers, users, influencers, saboteurs, end user, compliance. So various kinds of people are there. All of them are looking at your product and service from different angles. And any one of them can jeopardize your deal if you don't take care of their needs. That is the important point. And all of them are acting out of largely emotion. There is obviously some rationale in it, but they will have their needs and their personal prejudices behind it. So therefore, it is essentially human to human. Okay, just to keep in mind. Now, how do you go about handling this? Typically, we would recommend start with the user, because user is the person who's going to use. And if you find that there is no resistance from the user, that's an easiest place to start, because he's the lower down in the hierarchy, and you can talk to him. Obviously, you need permission to talk to him. Then you go higher up, and then you see that there is a buy-in from the people who the user is reporting to, and the whatever it is. So you're going up the hierarchy here. After that, once you know that all of them are aligned in terms of the value proposition, then you need to address the buying process, purchase process and buying process. Just the thought process here on this. Now, what happens in the buying process? The customer's own, see, every customer, B2B, have their own buying process. We don't know what it is, right? But typically what it will be is, first of all, there is an awareness that they have a problem or a need. It may not be a problem, it may be a need, okay? Awareness is the first thing. Somebody tells in a meeting or something saying, I have this problem, or they say that profits are down, something is down, what do we do? Or there's a failure, breakdown, so there's an awareness. Then they do some research. What kind of products or services are available? If it is not possible to solve it inside, that I need to look out. Some research they do. Outreach is, obviously they try to connect with some people. This is what they do. Okay, if you understand how do they connect, what kind of, they may attend conferences, they may Google, they may go to certain websites, indiamart.com or something. What do that they do when they are trying to find a solution to their problem? And then comes, if you're able to establish some connection with them, then they go through the process of how do they select your solution over other people's solution, because they will evaluate and they will negotiate and they will purchase. So this cycle will keep repeating. So if you have, when you're spending time with the customer, if you can try to figure out, make an assumption and try to figure out how is it that they are buying, because this will change. Because when you're disrupting, if you're talking about, today they are having their transporter, okay? Anything they want to transport, they call the logistics department, that guy will arrange some truck. But you're saying now change. Logistics guy not read it. So he will be threatened. The moment you offer your online platform for logistics guy loses his job. His importance goes. He can't decide. He may have a relationship with some trucker. He may say, if you give me, I'll give you back some money, some kickback may be happening. All that is gone. Who's interested in that? Some people. Okay, may not be only he. Maybe there is a hierarchy above him. But there may be others who may think that this is a waste of money and there is a modern trend. So these are disruptions. Okay, but unless you understand, you don't know whom to talk to and where the resistance is coming from. Okay, just a flavor of it. It's not. So now, having done this, having understood, we are not done anything. We are just saying this is how we will approach a customer. This is how we visualize what is going on behind the scenes there, and we are getting prepared. Okay, prepared to start now talking about a product or understanding the customer better. So we are going to make sales call. But before that, I'm saying we should look at segmentation. What is segmentation? I'm sure most of you are aware, but how is it important in this context? Now, this is how the world is looking. Obviously, there are millions of people, and you may think it's a great opportunity, so many customers. What is segmentation? Why do we need to segment? And when I'm saying segment, it is just not a single segment. There are sub-segments, sub-segments. The more refined you do, the better you will have opportunity to penetrate. Okay, segmentation really helps you to scale efficiently and effectively. So you have a assorted group of customers. If you're able to segment them into different colors or whatever needs, then you can address them separately. Obviously, their needs are different. That is why they are, standing out like this. So this is one of the important things. So because of needs, they stand out. Because of other characteristics, it may not be just color. It may be something else. The persona, right? They may be from some region. They may be from some state, some other geographical. So there are various ways of segmenting. How do you segment? First is a priori, which is standard industry segment. Okay. Automobile sector, cement sector. So that is a very logical geographical segment. Ownership based, private sector, public sector, government sector, small, big, whatever. Need based character. So these are, I mean, this is something. The purpose of sharing this is not to get into a thesis, but to understand that there is a need for segmentation. How do we use the segmentation is what I'm interested in sharing with you. So they have to be meaningful to you, be distinct as far as possible without too much overlap, sizable, no small segments, this, ignore them, okay? And it's not just a theory, it is evidenced in real life. You can see and say, okay, so and so are similar. So if these things are satisfied, then you can say the segment exists. Now, how you will handle the segment is different, but at least you're able to see, okay, black, white, gray, all that, okay? This I need to go to this slide, okay? Interview, so you have made some assumptions about the customer. You're going to validate it, which segment they belong to. So when you say, I've seen 3 or 4 segments, or I've done some secondary research, and I find that these are the kind of people that I think I should reach out to. You start making assumptions about the market. Somewhere some people talked about assumptions earlier, and the customer needs my product. You need to validate it. How many of them have similar needs? So this is the only way to find out is by talking to them. There is no magic, there's no shortcut. You need to meet as many as possible, have these dialogues, put them into different buckets or baskets and say ABC. Because post office used to sort letters earlier, pin code wise, you sort them. And then you find how many of them with similar needs can you find. How large is this in terms of units? How many units you can sell and what is the value that you can get out of them? Now comes certain thing, which there are something we will come to a little later. In this segment, there are all kinds of customers. Some are early adopters, innovators. There are some laggards. There are some skeptics, people who don't want to change, who are conservative. There are some very dynamic organizations. So again, you need to find out who is what. So that is this part. Having done this, so now you have identified some segment which is making sense to you, and you also identified who in the segment I should approach first, who are the highest probability of working with me. Then you design your product. After that, you design your product to satisfy that customer. Till then, designing a product in your lab and going and trying to sell it makes no sense for a startup. Because you never really understood. Having understood, now you go back and say, is my product suitable for that customer, or have I to do something with it? So there is a need to what is called an MVP, minimum viable product. Don't waste too much time. It's just a basic need. If it is satisfied, then you can keep adding. Okay. So this also is borrowed from Lean methodology. Many of you understand. So what this means is, this is the customer and this is your value. This is your product and this is a customer. There are two. What is the customer? When I say customer, again, it's people, person, human being. Okay. Purchase manager. Suppose a purchase manager is sitting here. What is the job he does from 9 to 5? He's doing something. He's getting paid for it. Typically, you need to gauge that. In doing those jobs, does he have any pain? Okay. Which is, if you sit and talk to him, he will do some body language. He will get a phone call. You will realize you will need to keep your eyes and ears open. As you walk into an organization also, there may be notice board. There may be various things you will notice, which all point to some kind of a challenge that is there. Okay. These are basic street smart sensing. So if you say these are the pains, and you can ask, I'll come to how to ask and find out. But he will have certain pains. If he doesn't have any pain, is it something he's missing? Because you are coming from outside, you have seen the world from different perspectives. He's seeing it from his own, office cubicle. He may not know as much as you know in your domain. So is there something that he's not getting? Make a note of it, okay, and just validate this. So for his pain, you should come back with a painkiller later on. For his gain, you create a gain. How will you do that? With your product and service. So this is a simple map which you can do, for which you need what is called empathy. When we talk about people, when we talk about human beings, this is never you can never overemphasize what empathy means. Even today, as we sit here, right, we are empathizing with each other. how does the customer think and feel? How does she see, say and do? So there are many, this is a map. This can be easily done. This map is available. I mean, you can use this. And this will help you to classify what's happening, to understand the customer a little better from different points of view. It's an effort you have to take. And especially if it's an important customer, you don't have to do for everybody. But if you think a key decision maker is, involved, you must do this. And there are ways of, suppose you are talking about a smart, I'm giving an example, a smartphone taxi app. What is the customer trying to do? He's trying to call a taxi, he's trying to find a taxi, he's giving directions, and he's going to pay. Okay. This is what he's going to do. In doing that, what is the pain? Long time of waiting, unsure about the driver. Other customers may jump in and take that taxi, stand in a line, or maybe overcharge, etc. These are the fears. What are the gains which they're not even looking at today? Taxi coming on time, never heard of it. Fair price, I don't know. Never experienced. Auto drivers always cheat. Easy payment, what does it mean? I always have to keep change, correct change, I won't get back money. Professional driver, auto driver, taxi driver, not unheard of, right? So this is what Uber or an Ola would have probably gauged if they have been smart to say this is the typical, this is a B2C customer, but I'm saying it gives you an idea. And how important is all this can also be rated, on a scale. Now, what do? Product, taxi, smartphone app. Now I'm relating to you, logistics smartphone app, okay? I'm sorry? I'm getting you. Yeah, that is the point. See, things fail, okay? Obviously, it's a very, very important point. When you start offering a service, customers' expectations go high, okay? Before Uber, Ola, we were a little bit, before even mobile phones came, we were happy to, not connect. Today, the thing is not happening, we are worried. So the app, the taxi doesn't land up. So that's a changing expectation which we have to work on. But when such an app doesn't exist and you're trying to disrupt, this is what will happen. So I will do instant booking, assigned driver, cost system, no cash, all this. Beyond this, there's also the Google map where it tells you where he is, how many minutes, all this is reassuring to the painkiller, okay? Similarly, no payment, credit card, Google Pay, tuck, everything. So basically, this is how you match the customer's needs with your product values. And you can do that for your product. Literally what you will do is, once you segment your customers, you identify the various archetypes, user, buyer, what are those needs, what is your value proposition to that, then you see whether there is a problem solution fit. Customer has a problem or a need, and then your product or service you're designing, is there a fit? Is a hypothesis at this stage, but it's a hypothesis based on some facts you've collected. So the customer's facts are not a hypothesis, but the fit that you are talking about of your product is definitely a hypothesis. You have to go and validate that, okay? So this is what it is. How do you go and meet customers? Tap your network. I mean, IIT Madras gives you a good network. So you find out, you prepare your problem presentation. What is it? What is meant by problem presentation? You are saying you're trying to understand the customer's problem. You're not talking about a solution today. Okay, not to sell, just to verify whether your understanding of his problem or her problem is correct. And gain the insight, we just talked about it. Okay, then you map it. Now what happens? This is, you're testing the validation, testing the need that you have made, and is that need genuine? As I mentioned to you, there are various types of customers. You are interested only in these guys. Who are innovators? Innovators are already innovating. There is a company which is looking for a logistics app. He's trying to develop something on his own. Some various people are trying various things because they are in very, very bad state. Early adopters are not really looking. See, these are people who have a pain and they know it, and they are trying to do something about it. These are people who have a pain, they know it, they're not doing much about it. But if you go and offer, they will take it. So these are the important guys. These people you don't have to worry about right now. Unless these people buy, they will not buy. But this is the majority. This is your scaling up. But this is your early adopters. So therefore, that is why the segmentation is important. Okay. What are you trying to do? You're in this state now. Most of you, some of you may have moved on, but I'm saying just validate that you are You are in the state where if you make a mistake and screw it up, it's okay. Till you get to a stage where you validated your product and it's how it meets the customers, then you are investing, going to a funding organization, investing in manufacturing, investing in hardware, software to scale up. Let us assume that you are here. What do? Are we solving a real problem? Who are the customers we are solving it for? Are we clear? Can we find customers who have this problem and who will pay us to solve it? The pay part is critical. If you offer a free trial, everybody will say, great. How much will they pay and all that is secondary. Will they pay first? So problem is there, okay? Solution, is this the right solution? And if we take it to the customers, are they ready to pay? So this is step is to be validated now. This, assuming you've done this. So you have to go with some kind of a MVP and you present it, etc., etc. Let's say. This slide also many of you might have seen before. MVP is not bits and pieces of your product. It's not bits and pieces of your product that you're building. It is something which a customer can use. So what is this MVP trying to do? It's helping for mobility. Move point A to point B faster. That is the need you've identified. You want to sell them a car. I mean, car is today available, but if you were the first person to ever launch a car, let's say there's not, in your space, they are not even here. So you're slowly trying to build a product, adding features till you come to this. But everywhere customers willing to pay and use and give you feedback, and therefore your final car is based on all this. Okay, don't go like this. Many times people go and show some half a product and say, if you like it, I'll complete the product and come. That's a misunderstanding they have. So I'm just highlighting this. Okay. So therefore, what happens is, along with product development, all of you will have very solid product development team, people working, high-tech people. We need customer development team. That means it's an iterative process. You do one round, not happy, do one more round, not happy, do one more round. Like yin and yang, you're trying to get the product perfected. So that is how it is. Okay. Sell it to visionaries. Determine your positioning. Where are you in your journey? Verify, validate. Then, now you got, on whom do you do this? You do it on your sub-segments. So because you invested so much time with one or two customers who are early adopters, that money should not go waste. You may even get a funded pilot. You may put your own money and do this because nobody wants to try your product and pay money from day one. But you may say, if it works, will you pay some kind of a deal? But then you can scale in this segment. If you do something else, you can scale in this segment. You do something else, you can scale. So I would recommend, because I've seen several startups, they do one pilot here. They don't know which segment they're serving. They just got a pilot. They're very happy. They're just doing it. After some time, this is a project. Pilot is a project. Then they do another pilot with some other customer without knowing whether in this segment or this segment. Okay. So then they do another pilot. So every time they're thinking, I'm getting money, I'm getting orders, I'm growing, but literally you're doing project by project by project. You're not selling a product. You cannot scale. And nobody will pay you money to say your next project or pilot may be very different from the previous one. And you think you're learning, you're growing, but that's not happening because you've not done your homework on what pilot you're going to choose. If the segment is too small, you may even not do this pilot. Not worth it. You may say, this is a bigger segment, let me invest here. If I succeed, at least I have this whole market. And while you're doing the pilot, you can keep in touch with all these players who are the conservatives, the laggards, the fence sitters. And they will say, okay, tell me what's happening. If it succeeds, I'll buy. So you're able to maneuver around. Okay. So that's how you grow. Problem solution fit we have covered. Product market fit will come when your product is accepted in the market. This will come to later. Okay. Right now, we are somewhere here. The pilot is successful, but you have a product market fit. Now you need to see how I'm going to reach and scale up. This is a completely different game compared to what you were doing all along. This is very, comparatively, this will be easier. Easier means different because you know your technology, you're just trying to understand customer need and you're trying to match your need with your product. So this is a different ball game. This is where B2B marketing will have a much bigger role. What does that mean? Leveraging customer acquisition. So now you're going to acquire new customers. There's a cost of acquisition of new customers. Okay, and there is a lifetime value for those customers. You need to compare the two. So let's go back to this business model canvas, which I'm sure many of you are familiar with. If you're not, that's a separate subject, but it has 9 blocks. We are interested in this block. This is a customer facing block. What it says is the value proposition should match the customer segment. We just talked about it. Okay. But you need channels to deliver the product to the customer. Channel may be direct. It may be through a what do you call it, a distributor or intermediary. You need to build relationships, and then you need to collect money. You should have a mechanism for collecting money for all this. So this really the product market fit. If this is happening, and you're able to keep on repeating and repeating for many customers, or the same customer, multiple orders are there, then you know that you will have to work on the back end so that you can invest. And then you start looking at your cost and resources, partnerships, etc., etc. Okay. So here the question is not how I must reach the customer. It's how customer wants to be reached by any supplier. It's always outside in approach. How do you want to reach a product to the customer, and how does your customer want to receive it? Yet they may not be the same. Okay, but you ask these two questions. So obviously you need to create awareness. Okay. The customers, you must give them an opportunity to evaluate. Then you must allow them to buy. How they buy, all that is important. After they buy, you have to deliver. And this we have discussed before, but I'm just highlighting the key points here. This is what a channel will do. Relationship. How do you get your customers into your channel and keep them and grow? So we talked about channel. How do you deliver the product, and how do you, this is the softer part of it. This is the hard part of it. Softer part is, this is the acquisition cost. We said create awareness. Okay. You have earned media, paid media today, online, offline, various means by which you would be blaring out your product to social media, etc., etc. We don't know if the customer is getting aware or not. We don't know. Okay, at this stage, we don't know. We are hoping. There may be interest generated. See, what is awareness? Awareness is customer is thinking about your product when you are talking to him about it through a channel. Okay, that is awareness. Interest is when you stop talking to him, he is going to do something else. He has a life to lead. He's doing something else. At that time, if he thinks about your product and the communication that you have done, he remembers, that is interest. This you'll never know because this is behind the scene. But you will know when there is a consideration. What does that mean? He calls you back and he says, hey, other day I heard something, I saw something. Then he's considering. He said, I want to know more about it. So this is the only time you know whether the customer is actually benefited. So this is a track you have to keep. How many people you reached out to and how many people called you back? That's a ratio. Consider it. And after how many people called you back, how many purchased? That will be a fraction of who reached out to you. It can't be 100% ideal. Okay. So there is a loop here. There's a viral loop. What it means is that moment somebody buys, you should bring him back into the awareness and say, hey, so and so bought it. You are creating this customer, satisfied customer is your best salesman. They will believe a customer than you because you will anyway promise the moon. Somebody says, I tried their product, the service is fantastic from their own community. You create a viral loop here. Okay. Having done this, so he's purchased from you once. What do? You have to keep him. You can't let go. Okay. What is your strategy for keeping? There are many things, loyalty program, people do various things, keep on giving information, updates. You have to tell the customer, I am the Dada in my space. Okay. Or anything on logistics, or tell me any other product line that you have, because I spoke to her, I'm using logistics as an example, or Karthik is talking about 3D vision. You are the expert. So anything, whether the customer buys from you or not, he say, hey, Karthik is a guy I should talk to on this matter. Okay, when I was selling packaging, many times I was selling paperboard packaging, but many times customers wanted to discuss on bottles or tin or something else. They used to call me because they thought, let's at least check, right? Because you should not say, I only know this. You should say, I'm knowledgeable about my entire competition and I can advise you. And advice is free, but at the end of the day, it will be free. Okay? So there are customer check-in calls. You call back and say, hey, did you like my product? How is it? You would have seen many companies do this. Take a feedback. Product updates. You can say, I've launched something new. I'm sure all of you are doing it in some level. Having done this, you're keeping them, but then you need to grow. That means you need to see how you can get more value from your customer and selling different products to them. How do you sell different products? You can unbundle. If you're selling a whole package, he's finding it difficult to keep on buying the whole package. You say, I'll break it up. I'll give you some, smaller pieces of that. Upselling. Can I send the next higher version? That's phone companies keep doing that. Cross-selling. Can I sell them a headphone along with a phone or something? So there are complementary products you can sell. Referrals is the very, very important thing. This is very important because if you're keeping your customer so happy, he will definitely give you a referral. He should. If he doesn't give you, you're not done your job. So many people don't ask. Okay? But if you can get a referral straight away, you will be able to make this scale up tremendously. Okay, so this is the strategy for building relationships, and there are various ways. I'm just giving you a funnel as a visualization. In this, there are two values proposition. One is the customer acquisition, because till he buys, you're going on spending money. Okay, and once he's bought, he's giving you back value. So this ratio, LTV to CAC, is what you should look at. So this is a typical way of calculating it. You see how much you've spent and how many customers finally bought. Just divide it, you will get to know cost of acquisition. Back of the envelope calculation, not a big issue. Okay. Any doubts on this? It's, I suppose. Okay, so lifetime value you can easily generate because you are keeping track of the business volume that you're getting. This is something you need to see that it's at least 1:3, 1:4, 1:5. Customer acquisition cost should be smaller fraction of the lifetime value. What are the three things? First of all, a customer has a need. He needs to travel from A to B. There is a want. He will not travel anyway. You have to make him, there's a status and there is some comfort and other thing, convenience, prestige, many things are there. Need is the same, but wants may change. But want is not, doesn't mean he will buy it because he may not have ability to pay. He may want to buy first class, but doesn't mean he will. So there are these different factors which play in a customer acquisition. So this may be true for anybody, B2B or B2C, okay? So I'm not going into too much of theory, but we talked about retention, and somewhere this question came up. What happens if there's a failure? You deliver on your promise. Every touch point with the customer must perform well, whether it's product, packaging, shipment, billing, collection, customers, any other. So customer touch point, if you look at, let's say Swiggy today, there are two touch points that I've seen. One is you book the thing, and the next is a knock on the door and the guy delivers. In between, you don't know. Okay, there is some communication, right? But product should come properly. Time is important. How is the accuracy of billing? Have they overcharged you? Has something missing? Okay, how do they make you pay? If there's so many things are there. Can you go beyond? Can you anticipate? Can you build trust? So these are, there is no right or wrong way. It is all dependent on how we understand the customer and how we are relating to him. But this basically says you may need to build that relationship. This we already covered, referrals and stuff. End of the day, this is your equation. You should get far more out of investment you're making. Otherwise, don't go after the customer. Okay. Okay. I don't know how much time is there. We have exceeded time. 4 to 5:30, no? Okay. So I will pause here and ask if anybody has any question, online or offline, and give about a few minutes before I touch upon these things, which may be selling techniques and deal closure may be important. But any questions? Nothing is clear. Use the mic, yeah. Yeah, so far what I've talked about is marketing. I'll give you this example. I mean, last time I shared this. So let's say there is a pond, okay? Pond. You throw grains on the pond, grain or some food stuff. So that is marketing. Why do you throw the grain on the pond? The birds will come and try to eat it. The birds will come. Ducks, let's call them ducks. Ducks are coming to eat the grain on the pond. Then you take a gun and shoot the duck, sitting duck. That is sales. Sale is basically you want to shoot a duck. But if it's flying, you can't shoot it. First, you have to bring it to one place, make it in such a way that you can sell. So that is why the segmentation, that is why the understanding, that is why understanding of your product, your processes, your ability to deliver, value proposition, all this is marketing. Peter Drucker is a famous, now he's no more. He was a famous marketing guru, grandfather, not even father. Okay, he said there are only two things in any business which adds value. Okay, one is marketing, the other is innovation. Everything else is cost. Everything else is whatever you do, your product, your service, anything you do, if the customer is not buying it and paying for it, there's no value created. So marketing is entire thing. It starts with you're purchasing what kind of quality of goods, your raw materials you purchase is marketing. If marketing says no, the purchase manager should not buy it because it is finally that goods is going to the customer. No. Sales is just how do you close a deal. I'll come to that. That is why I said in the beginning, if a marketing manager or a function in an organization says, hey, I want that startup, because everything is finally delivered to the customer, whatever your company, otherwise it's a cost. There are costs. Okay, you have to do internal audit. There is a cost. Okay, but why are you doing it? To remain healthy. Otherwise, the customer will, you will, go sick and your customer anyway won't get the product. So customer doesn't mind that cost, but those are business value added. Otherwise, there are value added and non-value added costs. Non-value added activities, NVA should be stopped. If it's not adding value, don't do it. But your marketing guy is the person who will decide whether it adds value or not, because he knows what the customer wants, and that is where value is added. You do extra packaging, put some features. Okay, customer is not going to use, he will say remove it. Or if there is some source. When I was selling packaging, okay, I used to spend time with the marketing manager first. Because why? When you buy a product, you don't see it, you just see the packaging first. If the packaging is good, the product, you believe the product, because you can't judge a product, you can only judge the packaging. When you go for an interview, what do? You wear your best clothes and go, because that's the packaging. So marketing is actually that, to present your organization in a manner that the customer is going to buy it. You deliver on that. It's not just presentation. At the end of the day, marketing person must be sure is authentic, that what he promises will get delivered. So therefore, the entire organization must support. There cannot be any ego hassles and say, he may be a junior person in the marketing function, the senior unit head sitting here, he has to listen to him. Okay, now coming to sales. Since you asked about sales, the next few topics are on sales. If there's any other question, I will pause. Otherwise, I'll jump onto sales in the interest of time. What is selling? Okay, so in successful sales calls, who does most of the talking? Buyer. No? I've asked this before. Okay. Seller does talking, it's not a successful sales call. Okay. The buyer will get bored. Getting the buyer to talk, there are techniques. So I'm saying I will not dwell on this. You should ask open questions. Mostly open questions are questions which will open a floodgates. For example, what is your experience with your current supplier of that product? Okay. Or what is your experience with your current logistics provider or whatever? Okay. Open question. Not, are you satisfied? You'll say yes or no. That's a closed question. If you say, are you, did you, if, so these are closed questions. What, when, how are open questions. Okay. So closed questions are also needed to validate, but this preferably start with this. Pin selling, I will talk about. Okay. You need to plan every call. When you're talking about sale, you can't go unplanned. Okay. There's a lot of planning. I will tell you how it is. You have to establish the needs in the prospect's own words. Because they say, if you say it, it's a lie. If your customer says it, it's a truth. Just keep this somewhere in your mind that you should not say something. You should make the customer say it. Therefore, don't sell, make them buy. Okay. So in his own words, he should say, I think it's a great product. You cannot say it's a great, my product is great. You will, of course, say it. If you say it, it's a lie, because I mean, that's a within brackets. Okay. This is important. Value-based pricing. I think some of you must have heard the term before. Don't go by cost. Don't go by how hard it has been to do the work. If there's no value, they won't pay. Simple. How do you increase value? So here, what is spin? Spin, when you're talking about selling, you understand the situation of the customer. Now we're talking about individual customers, you're having a conversation now. You started the sales process, okay? Situation questions. What are those situation questions? Something which can be today done on an online secondary research customer situation, okay? But you can still ask them a few questions. How are you? Things like that, more to understand the context, okay? Then in asking the situation question, you ask leading questions about the problem. He may himself say, everything is not fine. Some things are good. So then when he starts talking about problems, that reveals that the buyer is having an issue. I'm saying you're talking about the domain area. So he's implying something there. This is a signal for you that there is all is not okay with the customer prospect. Now you start developing that. What does that mean? You said there's a problem. How did it affect you? Okay, so this is where art of selling comes, to convert something vague that the customer is talking into something very concrete, because the customer then starts feeling the problem more acutely and clearly. You are helping the customer see his own problem in a much more clear way than he is able to see it today, because he is inside, you are from outside. You are helping him see. Once you see this, he will start talking. He should start talking about your product or solution automatically without you having to say this. Okay. If you say, for example, my goods don't reach on time because they leave late, I'm not able to make a full truckload, and my logistics problem. So if he says, I wish there was an app, he may say, okay. Then, if he doesn't say it, obviously he doesn't need it. So you keep on doing, so need payoff questions will come. Finally, he will state it explicitly. This is all the focus that you need to do. Once you do this rest is easy, as long as you can deliver on your promise. Okay. What are the examples? Situation questions. See, what is your purchase procedure? The situation question. How do you make decisions in your company? Who are the people involved? A product like this, who all I should be talking to? What is the current experience? Can you give me some idea of number of trucks you dispatch in a day or something like that? Okay, how do you place? So this is a situation question. Problem, what challenges are you facing? Because you're trying to get evidence about current, he will definitely talk about all this. If you think something new, which is not there, can it help you? So you're basically leading into something which you are wanting him to talk about. So therefore, we say, what is the consequence? You said there are some issues. What happened? Did you lose money? Did you lose market share? Did you lose customers? Those are the real tangible negative outcomes. Problem is something, truck didn't go, so what? Then next day, everybody is happy. It's not a big deal. The problem. But if there is an implication, means there is loss of value, business value. So all this will come. Then you say, how much money will your company save if this will prevent? So he's now starting to see the other side. Problem, now solution, opportunity, gain. So this is some simple tips I've given you. So what happens in every call, see, in a B2B, I said is long processes, takes time. So every call you will not get an order. I'm sure all of you know, but you should have something. So there is a success or a failure in every call that you make. Success is a win. Everybody knows. If it's a small order, certainly immediately win. Here, if it's a complex order, there are multiple. One is an order, same thing can happen. Second is a commitment to buy. Okay, he says, I've signed everything, but order is not signed. But otherwise, clear, all doubts cleared and ready. So that's possible. One step before this, or an advance. Advance is anything that moves the sale forward, because there are multiple steps. As long as, so how do you know it's an advance or not? We'll come to. Failure means he says, sorry, I'm not interested. That's one. Continuation means he says, okay, I've heard you, very good. I'll call you whenever I need. No action. Or he says, I don't want. So these two are same. In between a state is a stalemate. Okay. You can't pursue the customer if he says, there is no action going to follow through. So some action has to come. So you need to prepare. So this is a sheet which you can use to prepare every call on a sale. This now really say, what are you trying to achieve in that sale? You don't want a continuation. You want an advance. What is that advance? Suppose you say, I want to arrange a meeting with the top management. My purpose of the sales call is try and achieve meeting with the top management or with the cross-functional team, buying center, all of them. If that meeting is fixed, it's an advance. If they say no, it's a failure. Okay, so that's all. Okay, now you can look at how to do this. Obviously, there'll be a question. Why should they call a meeting? How much time it will take, etc. So you say, look, you have all these problems. This means this to you. This will not change much. You've understood the customer's problem, implications, and you're giving something. This is a backup. You're saying, look, this is what I want. Okay. What is implication? I'm sure many of you would have read this Benjamin Franklin's poetry or nursery rhyme long ago. I don't know if you're not, because my vintage, it was very common. For want of a nail, a shoe was lost. Those days, people used to fight on horseback. Shoe means horseshoe here. Okay, so horseshoe is lost, the horse is lost, can't run. Horse cannot run, the rider is useless. For want of a rider, the battle was lost. Okay, this means a very important rider. Battle was lost for what? For want of a nail. For want of the battle, kingdom was lost. Can happen. Okay, all for the want of. So basically, the problem is there, but the implication is very big. So you need to understand that when he's talking about a problem, how much impact it can mean to the customers, management, business, whatever. And then those, if you lead the implication questions in that direction, you will finally find the customer getting scared or worried and say, obviously, I need to do something. I never thought of it this way. Okay, that is the way you need to build up the case. Okay. Then what happens? More and more implication questions you ask him, more serious the problem appears to him, your solution cost may seem insignificant comparatively. If you don't do this, he will reject this. He will say, no, I can't pay the price. But the more and more you put on this side, that becomes a heavier body. You can see this, okay, equation. So, okay, I don't want to dwell on this. I'm sharing the okay. Solution. Now coming to, we've done all this. We've told them you have a problem, implication. He's also articulated some hope of a solution, etc., etc. Now you're going to, so far you've not talked about your solution at all. This is selling. You're not talking about a solution. You're only discussing problem because we say the buyer must talk in the beginning. So all the buyer is talking, you're asking questions. Now comes the time for you to talk. How do you talk? You don't talk features. You could, but don't give too much. The moment you start talking features, I have this, I have IoT, I have sensors, I have high tech. His mind will go, how much is he going to charge? He's saying so many things. His mind will go, definitely it's very high price, most must be very costly. He will switch off. Don't go into features, okay? Advantages and benefits. These are words which sound similar, but there is a difference, okay? An advantage is if the product offers something to the customer for which he has not confirmed that he has a need. If I say this watch will work 200 meters below sea level, or you throw it from a 10-story building, it won't break. It's an advantage. But I have not asked for it. I'm not going to swim underwater, nor am I going to throw it on the 10th floor. Okay? But you're going and saying it. So that's immediately the buyer will object. He will say, wait a minute. Okay. So this is not a good thing to do. You should talk only benefits. Benefits are where the customer has already said, I need this, I need this, I need this. You bring that up front. Okay. And this is what he's going to pay for. So if you're talking benefits, and which are exactly what the customer has also articulated before, you hit the sale. Okay. Now comes the negotiation of the price. You have to close the deal now. Now you're saying, fine, I like your product, perfect, benefits are all good. You typically, when you B2B selling, you have to break up your offer into multiple components. Okay. Service components, product components, and payment terms, credit terms, many, whatever you can break it into, break it into. Okay. Component-based offers. Why do we do this? Each component will have a value for the customer and it will have a cost for you. I was just chatting with you earlier. Okay. You were saying cash flow is a problem. It's a big deal for you. Okay. It may be low value for the customer because he's cash rich. I was working in ITC, for example. Okay, ITC is the company with zero debt for several, because cigarettes are sold in cash. You can't buy cigarette on credit. No distributor buy. They pay cash and take it. Okay, so cash company was cash rich. So we used to sell packaging to McDonald's, not McDowell's. Okay, liquor company. Of course, all of you have heard of Vijay Mallya. Okay, now that company did not have cash, because the cash was going somewhere else. They wanted the liquor bottle to be packed. So we said, we will open a hundi, we will fund you, you give a post-dated check, you use the product, you collect your money from your customer, because liquor is sold in credit in many places. You collect your money and then you pay me. Till then, I will charge you interest, but I will give you cash. So there's a component. It's a low value for me, very high value for the customer. Okay. So a lot of business came that way because of that. So you break it into components, you think about it. Excellent. So if you're established that there is a need in the market, very clear, and you're providing a feature to satisfy that need, you should not talk about the fee, you talk about the benefit. You're saying, my scooter will help you carry one cylinder. That's what you have to say. You should not say, my scooter has so much of extra space. That is a feature. He will say, why did you put the space? I'm going to pay more for it. You have to say, you don't have to say it's a big scooter. It has extra space. You may think 100 things. Oh, I need more parking space or something. I don't know what the feature you're talking about. But once you say benefit, he says fantastic, because that is what he wants. It's a subtle difference. The feature provides a benefit. But if you talk feature, you're talking about a product which is not of consequence to him. He's interested in what the product is going to give him. Water. The moment you talk feature, the customer will think you added cost. That's what I'm saying. It is costly because you're adding something and you're trying to palm that cost to him. That is what he will think. By explaining it in some other way, I've done something, I couldn't make it cheaper. So now I'm trying to, this is the mindset. It's more a psychological thing. It's not a, therefore just talk about this. Don't talk about your cost. If he says, how did you do it? Then it's different. Then he's asking for the feature. He says, I'm happy. I don't care how you did it. If it works, fine. Okay. I hope it is. So coming back to this, see now this graph is all that you have to remember by saying, one, I break it into components. Why it is important is sometimes the cost is low for us, high value for the customer. Those we should hold on. Okay. Where the cost is high for us, low for the customer, we should drop it. And then you're negotiating. Okay. So initially you drop all your high cost items. Fine. Then you basically what it says is make your concession smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. If you're dropping price, drop 10% here, 5% here, 4%, 3%, 2%, 0%, 0.5% something. So he will understand that you are not going to go below this. That is the perception you're building. If you go yo-yoing, sometimes people do this. Suddenly they go down, they have not reacted, responding. So he will, and if you go back, he will think, I should have, I'm not going to sign today. I think if I call him tomorrow, he'll further reduce. So this is where I'm saying is very, very important. This is where the nerves, the guts will play and how confident you are of your customers understanding. See, I'm talking to somebody today, okay? If Vayujal, I'll give you the example, Vayujal, which makes atmospheric water, okay? He's trying to negotiate a deal with HCL Technologies, okay? Which is a big company. They want to buy water on tap, okay? Why are they wanting to buy Vayujal water when they can use bottled water or whatever they're doing today? Yes? Okay. I will, you think about it. Why should somebody, see, Research Park is not doing it. They are giving me this. Okay, everywhere, this is because it is packaging. It's also good. Nobody is saying bad about it. But there is a company, ITC Chola, for example, said, I will buy a Vayujal unit. Okay, just think about it. I'll come to it towards the end of this presentation. Okay, as far as this is concerned, there is a opportunity for us to close the deal or leave it in a state where we walk away. Customer will call you back because he says, I don't think this guy is going to come down. Okay. This is value proposition. Some of you must have seen this slide also before. Do you know the example of aircraft maintenance? This G, General Electric. Another 20 minutes, okay, 15 minutes. Is it okay? I'm sorry. There was some interruption. I'm taking advantage of that. Okay. So what is door-to-door, wing-to-wing? Any idea? Quick guess. I mean, keep an eye if somebody is from the audience there is also wanting to respond. Okay. So GE, General Electric, used to repair aircraft engines. Okay. So what they used to do is their response time, because aircraft is down, engine is gone for repair. So they said door to door. That means they had a workshop to repair this engine. Engine will come into the workshop. It crosses the door. Okay. They note the time when it comes inside, and then they note the time when it leaves their workshop. And they used to use this as a selling thing, saying we are very fast responding, etc. But aircraft companies did not realize that between the door and the wing, there was a huge gap. Because you need the engine not at the door, you need it in the wing aircraft. Okay, so they said, we will change our strategy from door to wing and charge more. How much more? Maybe double. Why double? Because for the customer, it may be worth 5 times. The downtime of aircraft is huge. So they have maybe some logistics, some, because the aircraft companies were not physically stationed, but GE had a better management of logistics. So they were able to put little bit of extra money and save millions of dollars for the customer, and said, fine, if you are, I hope it's okay. So that is wing to wing. Are you understanding? So you can charge much more by doing a small favors to customer. The other one is even more interesting, electrical cables. All of you must have worked on site work, buildings, construction, metro going on, airport, everywhere there's civil work going on. Electrical cables are one of the items that are used in any construction site. Okay, it's one of the least cost items, and it is a commodity virtually. So any purchase manager will just negotiate prices. There'll be tenders, and whoever is supplying the least cost will get it. This was it. But this company realized that electrical cables can delay your project execution. Delay in supply of electrical cables means the project gets delayed. Simple thing, tail wagging the dog. So they said they've done some research and found out that how much of delay, and a project delay means huge money. Okay, so they went and they did their background operations excellence and all that, and said that we will deliver on time or before time something. So they've invested heavily in their backend to ensure that they can keep a promise of on time. And they went and told them that I will give you on time delivery of cable, okay, but you have to pay me 20% more. Okay, why will any company pay 20% more, or even 30% more, 50% more? Because there is a huge saving if there is a on time. But why will a purchase manager agree for that? Because I'm telling you again, going back to the buying center, if I'm the purchase manager and I said, I want to pay 50% more to some cable company because he'll deliver on time, if I'm the CEO of the company, I'll fire the purchase manager first. Because you don't know how to do your job and get the best service from your supplier, and you want me to pay more for him to do your job. This is what it will be, because you're passing your responsibility to somebody else. That's how it will be. What this company did, and why are they doing it? Because there's so many hidden costs. What this company did, came up with a mafia offer. They said, you pay me 50% more, but if a 1 day's delay, I will give it free. I'm giving you extreme, maybe 50% off, whatever. That is a mafia. So nobody can refuse such an offer, because there is built-in saving, and there is now you're trusting the supplier. He's risking everything, and you know that if at all he is able to, if he's delaying, I'm getting the money back 50% more. I'm getting it free, so there's an advantage. If he gives it on time, I save much more. The mafia offer is, you can't say no to it. Okay. So these are some of the perceptions of value. I hope I've given you a flavor of how you can get into the customer's thing and build value, and therefore start charging. Yeah, now we have come to the last. I hope it is clear about selling technique, deal closure, pricing, value, etc. Customer intimacy, I'll just spend a few minutes. I don't want to take too much time. This is a question somebody asked me in the beginning. Okay, what kind of relationship we want to build, or something like that. Now, this is a book written long ago, and I've just taken from this book. There are three dimensions of value discipline. I'll give you examples. Product leadership. You asked this question. Okay, I'm making the best product. Customer will buy because everything is fantastic about it. So we had companies like Sony. We had companies today like iPhone, Apple. We have Mercedes or BMW. We may have several roles. We'll have several examples, five-star hotels. So they are really talking about product leadership. That is a value. So every aspect of their business is driven towards product leadership. Okay, even their, everything looks spick and span. Every interface with the customer. It costs money and there are people willing to pay. It's a Rolex watch or something. So you have to decide, am I in that segment? Then you go there. Sony or Apple. You go another, this is least cost, operational excellence. This is completely opposite of this, or virtually, that's why it's below. What does it mean? I'm like a FedEx. I'm like an Amazon. I'm like a McDonald's burger. Least cost. I make people stand in a line to buy my burger. After they eat it, I make them clean the table, take it and throw it in the dustbin. Okay. So I make my customers work. But why do they come to me? I'm the least cost. But operational excellence, because no quality variation. They know what quality they get. They're ready to pay for it. There are umpteen examples. You know you will get the service. You go to Saravana Bhavan or something. I'm giving you some examples where operational excellence means everything. People don't expect five-star food. They know standard quality, standard idli. There used to be one Ratna Cafe or something here. People used to go. Sambar idlis. You'll only get that. There are many other restaurants. So there could be many examples like this. Okay. Best total cost, but no frills. No frills. Third, this is what I was talking about, where you may want to be a differentiator, is customer intimacy, which is total solution. So you're neither a best product, nor are you cheapest. You are doing what the customer, B2B, this is better. Because each customer is unique. And if you are able to make your product offering in such a way that your customer feels he's special to you, and you have done something, you understand, how do you do this? Customers are people, they are interested, they are interested in, their promotions, their career, their objectives. You help them achieve their objective. You're not there to achieve your objective. So this is something. And how do you achieve this? You can't have poor product, poor excellence and do customer intimacy. You need to have some threshold level. You set your threshold and say, I will be minimum. Similarly, operational excellence, you can't have poor product or no customer focus at all. So threshold levels are fixed, but you go in one direction. You may choose whichever one for your nature of your product, but this will help you to build relationship over a long time or build a brand, because people will know what you stand for. Is operational excellence, or is it product leadership, or is it customer intimacy? Okay. What is the differences? Best total cost, best product, best solution. Your variety kills efficiency. That's the problem. You get the same burger. You don't change much, standardize, like Xerox copies. Here, you cannibalize your success with breakthroughs. Apple on coming up. You kill your own product and you come with, so you need people to upgrade. Okay. Here, you're bothered about the client's problem. You're not talking about your product or cost or anything. It's a client important. This is the center. Here, this product, this cost, this product, it's client. So all this obviously is related to all that. How do you achieve it? I'm not going into this. This is available to you. And the last one was marketing partnership, which I touched upon earlier. And I paused something somewhere and I said, I will cover this. Can the marketing function of your customer take notice of your product and service? If so, why should they? And how will you make them do it? This is the Vayujal example. I paused there. I said, the HCL Technologies, why are they buying Vayujal? HCL Technologies is 75,000 crores today turnover. Okay. But they are losing bids for big contracts because they are competing with, say, Infosys, Wipro, or somebody else. And there's very little to choose between these companies in terms of their product and their services and their competence, because employees keep moving here and there. So it's all become a commodity. So now the buyer of the services, software services, is looking at sustainability scores. So how green are this company? Okay. How much of carbon footprint they have saved? how much of water that they have not polluted, so stuff like that. So when that becomes a differentiator, I'm talking to Ramesh Vayujal and I said, now he's not talking about 10 paisa per bottle liter, or you're not in that cost game. You are going to help him from 75,000 crores to some 50,000, 100,000 crores or something like that. That is why why is Vayujal important? Because it doesn't tap into groundwater. It's atmospheric water, no packaging, no plastic, no distribution, no no tankers, no carton boxes, nothing. Okay, so it is clean and healthy. If you use RO, you can say no distribution, no packaging, but RO still uses energy. This also uses energy, but you're going to waste 80% water. You are draining groundwater. So there are many boxes for HCL is getting ticked. That is marketing partnership. Water has nothing to do with software sales. But the marketing company's interest, hey, what happened to the Vayujal project? I'm not getting orders here, because our sustainability score is 0, or not 0, low. Okay, so similarly, you can create, how do you connect? Sustainability is everyone's. I've just given this example, there may be many more. A company score also means if you are sustainable yourself, you will also get, see, I'm working with several startups in the clean water space, and I find that anybody who's working on water treatment, wastewater management, or data analytics on water sensors is actually indirectly saving water, on improving health, okay, saving energy. When you reduce water usage or water pumping, you save electrical energy. So many of these startups are not aware of the benefits they are creating in the environment, just because even that lady who just had to leave, she's consolidating consignments, logistics service provider. How is she doing it? By consolidating shipments from various companies, putting it into one truck and transporting it. So she's saving money for the organization and taking some share of that money is fine. But she's reducing diesel consumption. You not have captured that. There may be other benefits, okay, employment generation. So there are a lot of things which can happen. If you are able to keep your ESG score high, you will get customers, you will get investors. I'm also an investor to some extent, Angel. I've invested in companies where they are showing some ESG. So I know they will not fail. Even if the business fails, they will get funding, they will get government support, they are relevant to climate change and all that. But if they are only chasing money, then chances are if something goes wrong in the economy, they are gone because they don't have the rise anywhere else. Okay, so one is your ESG, the other is every industry, because today SEBI is looking at listed companies declaring business reporting. Based on that, investors will choose where to put their money. If you're buying a stock, you will not only get the balance sheet, you'll also get the sustainability score of the listed company. And you can choose whether I'll put money in a company which makes only financial results and spoiling the economy or environment or health or society, or will I do something which is not making so much money, but tomorrow is healthy? You are the younger generation, you may start thinking like that and say, no, I'd rather support this company than somebody who's just taking money and, tomorrow climate change is hitting everybody. So if you are able to help those companies through your products, A, you're saying, I'm sustainable, work with me. B, I'm making you more sustainable. That is marketing partnership. And you have something else to talk about other than your product. Okay, so with that, I will, I think this is the last slide. Oh, sorry, one more. I don't know why I put this, but I thought I will leave you, somebody asked some questions. So I think the last slide is the question that you asked. So here I'm talking about, somebody is saying, how do we build a customer base or something? So there is a universe of customers, opportunities, prospects, okay? We initially bring them to what is called a market platform, which is a platform where you're qualifying leads. Today it's called leads and qualified leads. Customers meet your criteria and you think you can do business with them, and they are also willing to consider you both ways. There is the intent. When you say working platform, means you have given a quotation, they are discussing it, there's an advanced stage, some pilot is going on, something. So it is not a repeat buy, it is still a first buy and there is a lot of engagement. So these people require a different treatment. This is mostly marketing people are focused on this, and little bit of sales people will be focused on this. Once they come here, this will be your operations people, your product development people. This require completely different attention compared to these people. Okay, so you must not leave them in no man's land. You keep them you understand, identify who's going to work with them. Once they go here and they start placing repeat orders, they get into what is called a blind buying platform. Okay. And from where leakages can happen. Leakage means these customers may actually slip away to competition. So to prevent that, we say what you do is build a brick wall. This is relationship building. How do you build a brick wall around this platform so that leakages are arrested and you are able to retain these people? Okay, so that is what I would, and these big wall building, again, all depends on your customer knowledge and your competitive ability to protect your business. Okay, right. Last slide was the first slide. Any question not answered? How will an early state deep tech startup focus on their marketing plans and strategy? I know I didn't understand this. Something else now. Mindset around current state of medical. Who asked this question? Anybody here? I don't see any difference between deep tech startup marketing plans. To forecast a marketing plan and say, if you know there is it's true for anybody. If you know there is a need for your product and you identified your market segments, you identified your size of your market segments, then each segment will have its own strategy. That is why you segment them. Otherwise, you can, if the same strategy will apply to more than one segment, you can club them together. So segmentation is the way to strategize. Based on the strategy, based on your ability to deliver, your cash flow and internal resources, you make a plan. How will you address that need? You can't satisfy everything, but you address some part of the need and then you scale up. Okay. Customer relation B2B, I think I've covered it. So many things. Waste management oriented startup. Who's there? Anybody here? I don't know. Waste management oriented is definitely, you're satisfying a need. And there is value that will come out of this. So you have to say, how are you different? What is that new thing you're bringing to the market, to the table, that your customer will be interested in your waste management process as opposed to somebody else? Typically look at wealth out of waste. One is waste is a pain for people to dispose of. Today, there are stringent norms. So if you can take care of the customer's waste, I don't see any problem in, getting access. Even the highest level, CEOs and others will invest time with you because waste doesn't move out, the factory will come to a stop. Customer acquisition cost, I said, if you get referrals and if you start giving feedback loops, it will come down. Traditional industries prefer known trucker. I think she's left probably. Known trucker to ship. Okay. This is the same thing. You have to give a value proposition. Cost is value proposition means I give better quality, I give lower cost. Or combination. Top challenges, mistakes, which I think I've covered mostly. How to build first layer of sales funnel. This is also discussed in terms of market outreach. Best approach, there is no best approach. That's why I've given all these platforms and marketing partnership and various other things you can choose. B2B marketing I've covered is mostly tricks and tactics are for selling, it's not so much for marketing. So for selling, you can use tricks. For marketing, we should be genuine, authentic. Okay. Different ways, I think it was discussed. Will affiliate marketing work? This question, I don't know who asked. Looks like all those who ask questions have either left or have got it answered, so it doesn't matter. No, but affiliate marketing work for, what does it mean? I didn't understand. That means, are you trying to, anybody can interpret what they would have meant? So whether it will work in B2B marketing, that is what the question is. I would think in that case, in my opinion is it won't work, because if I were a marketing purchase manager in a B2B company, buying company, if I say I'm buying this because Tom thinks it's a great thing, my management will probably question my wisdom. Then I'm making myself redundant. So there is a risk in trying to project this like this, unless it's a company which has a standing, not Tom. It is Tom and company, and that company is buying. But why will that company go and tell their competitors to buy that product? So I don't know. So it's a little risky, but I would think avoid it, because something goes wrong, your affiliate will also get affected. So that means you're not standing on your own feet. And it is not anything that Tom is bringing to the table, it's just a name. He's not promoting your product. He's not selling it. Are you paying something for him? If you're paying, it's a waste of money. See, it's not so much competition as competition in B2B. Let me tell you. I was in, ITC in stationery business, classmate. We forged relationship with Camlin because we believe that there is a need to promote a common category. Suppose notebooks are going out of business. We need, because everything is becoming digital. So we will get together and see how we can improve that. So competition, we always talk to each other. There is always that healthy relationship. And in that process, we may not mind, because if liquor industry is considered completely social or something, and if you come with a product or service which says I'm improving liquor industries, something, effluent handling, all liquor industries will be interested because the category will grow. So these are case to case. Okay.